welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast for Stage 4 of the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift from Cor, where Yaman Laporte won last year to Rodez. So it's actually, they're leaving Cor, and this is a hard old stage. 178k is one of the longest stages we've ever covered in women's cycling, the longest stages in the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift this year, and it's not flat either. The last hour of this, the last 40 kilometers, is pretty much all up and down the first 130Ks is mostly flat, but there is a decent climb at the start of the stage in the first 25-30 minutes where a break could form. Then it's flat, who's going to control, then some more climbing in there. As I said, like 2 Cat 3s, a Cat 2, and then a punchy uphill finish. The sort of one where after a hard day, it doesn't look like much, but you can suddenly lose time on the road if you're emptying the legs at the end of this stage. So I thought it was a really, really great stage design and conducive to some pretty exciting racing. And that's actually what we got, Benji, because yesterday was a little bit flat, I must say. Van der Velde accepted. But today, it seemed like it was on from the gun.
Yeah, we had a large breakaway in the race, and that breakaway formed in the way that you would expect a large breakaway to form this year, because we've seen that every large breakaway that goes up the road, SD Worx tends to react the same way, right? As in at Paris-Roubaix Femmes, a large breakaway control. It didn't really work out for SD Worx, so they put someone in the breakaway. Then it was Femke Marcus, and now in this breakaway, Christine Majerus was the rider they set in the breakaway, and that is basically a green light for every other team that this breakaway will go, because everybody else wants to go in the breakaway. So Sheila Gutierrez of Movistar in there. We've got Lebecki, Lucinda Brandt, good rider. Catherine Hamm has been fighting for the QM points together with the likes of Anushka Koster, also been doing that. Talita de Jong, Cor Vos, Romy Kasper, 2 riders from Phoenix de Koning. That is Yara Kastelein and Marte Truyen. Truyen is the rider that was sprinting for them in the final group in Roubaix Femmes as well. Then Lemuel Cordon-Rago, close in GC, 221 back. And Arzoufi also. Now, special to note as well is that Yara Kastelein is also close in GC, so 241 back. That is a major breakaway, and the second that I saw that SD Worx had a rider in there, I thought this breakaway wins, because this always happens when SD Worx puts a rider in the breakaway. The breakaway always wins. Now, I will say, I was still surprised by the amount of teams that ended up helping SD Worx in the later phases of this race in trying to control this breakaway. The gap went up to 10 minutes initially. With 60k to go, it was 10 minutes. And then we're nearing those hills, and SD Worx starts riding. Wiebes, Cecchini, and Bredewold are the 3 riders they use in that phase. But then suddenly UAE and Kenyon Schramm started helping SD Worx. And yeah, they missed the move, but they shouldn't be riding, right?
It was kind of like DSM yesterday, where I was like, I really don't have a problem with DSM pacing yesterday. I actually don't. The problem is, right, if you begin a game of chicken or cat and mouse, if at the end of the day you know you're going to lose that game because really you want the stage more than them, start pacing at 1 minute. Don't let it go to 2 minutes 20 DSM, because now you have to use your whole team. It's like the same thing with UAE or Canyon. If you really were worried about this breakaway, put a rider to keep it from going out of control when it's at 4 minutes, 5 minutes.
Or be in it.
Yeah,
it was an obvious one that this break was going to be the one that was going to make it once Majerus was in there, but it's also the response to that. I agree, but I'm also of the opinion that if I'm the DS and the team core of UAE and Kenyon Schramm, and I see that the situation is unfolding, I want SD Worx to spend every dime they have in their team, and then I try and counter them with rolling attacks. That's how I see that. But the way they did it was they started helping them, and then I feel like they're already riding for the podium and not for the victory in this race.
Yeah, I don't know why they would, to be honest, because Kopecki's in yellow. She doesn't want Rago or Castellan taking her yellow jersey for free. So for sure, SD Worx will pace at some point or continue pacing. And that theme, by the way, is relevant to the end of this stage, because yes, Cordon Rago at 221 and Castellan at 241, the 2 dangers in this breakaway. They're close on GC, and 10 minutes is a serious gap, and this is a long stage. We don't have a lot of data in race situations of how maybe, of how teammates or domestiques could respond at the end of such a long stage.
And when it comes to the likes of Yara Kastelein, 2 minutes behind only on Tion 2000 in Romandy last year, so she's not a terrible climber either. if she has a gap of 6-7 minutes after today in GC, then she can win the Tour de France Femmes with that, potentially.
Well,
so
look at her. Like, look how strong she is on the flat. She's so slight. She must climb well. Like, her 30-minute power today must have been good. So she must climb okay. And so, yeah, she's a real danger. Courtney Rigaud probably will lose a fair bit of time on in the mountains. But, yeah, this is... We then get into the hill phase. So this is all the build up into the hill phase. We get now into the Côte de Colombie. Anyway, 6.6K is 4.2%. That's quite difficult. There's a bonus sprint afterwards. And to me, before this stage, sometimes you got to keep it simple. And listen, sometimes, you know, my advice would be, you know, for Jumbo, big mountain, Jonas Vingegaard, small man, big mountain, he go fast. He smash. That's my advice. Small man go fast. My advice here would be Ardennes triple winner, Ardennes finish, Ardennes triple winner go smash. Demi Vollering. That's it. Keep it simple. And so when Cecchini dropped Benji, Bredevold attacked. I didn't really understand it because I thought they would just do one by one cycle through the domestiques, Vollering attack, Madras satellite up the road, happy days.
That is exactly the perfect strategy that should have been on the menu for SD Worx. You said it. They should have set up a launching pad for Vollering to try and bridge 2 Madras up the road. If you drop Van Vleuten, ideal. If you don't drop Van Vleuten, you dropped everybody else and you can benefit from the fact that it's a 1-horse race, a 2-horse race in the coming days. So there's 2 scenarios there. But what they did today was Bredewold attacking. Like, that's already... I was like, maybe they're trying to set Bredewold up to then have as a satellite rider again to bridge to her and then Madras, but it's starting to get really complex here to manage for a team car that is usually not great at managing so many things at the same time. No offense, but the SD Worx team car is not the brightest based on previous races. And the response to this move was also kind of curious, to be honest, because like, Balsamo following for track is understandable. They're trying to put someone in there as a similar satellite rider option maybe. But then they started chasing as well behind together with Diaz. And I'm like, who cares if Bredewold gets 10 minutes here? Like, then suddenly, Kopeck's going to be like, well, my yellow jersey's riding away while Bredewold is riding away. So then DSM has to choose, then SD Worx has to choose again. So I think the other teams also responded wrongly on whatever this Bredewold attack was that eventually got caught. And because of the Bredewold attack, Wibbes was dropping at the back. So you're losing a domestique while you're basically also losing a domestique by using her efforts at the front as well. And once Bredewold was caught, Kopecky attacks. And here I'm wondering, is this the same scenario as Bredewold, trying to get someone on the road? Or is this more the scenario of, oh, Kopecky wants to protect her yellow jersey?
I don't really know. Initially, I thought the first Kopecky attack, I thought it was... I thought they were trying to do a satellite. I think they were trying to do a satellite rider thing initially. And I don't believe in satellite riders from your own group. I've rarely seen it work in my life. Like, the satellite rider has to be in the breakaway initially. I've not really seen it too successful where the rider, like what Pog tried to do with Yates, that didn't work at all on the Betex.
Yeah. It has to be a scenario where the group that you're in doesn't have any other domestiques from other teammates to close down your satellite rider. Because then the GC leaders will have to spend energy chasing it down. And
that could have happened. But Vollering was pacing behind Kopecky, or was in 2 minds. And so then I couldn't figure it out. I really couldn't. I was like, and it's a big group, by the way. It's not like the 5 GC contenders. It's like a group of 20. And Kopecky's dangling at 15 seconds. I think there was a phase where maybe Trek paced it back. Niviadoma was in her wheel the first time, right?
Yeah, she was in her wheel the first time, and when Niviadoma was in that wheel the first time, Trek closed it down. And when I look at the scenario of, for example, the one you said there, that Kopecky was up the road and Vollering behind was at the front of the group, this shows to me the issue there as well. As in, Vollering in that group, her attack was hard pacing at the front of the group for a kilometer. And if you're doing that, you might as well have Kopecky lead you out in front of Vollering, because the separation that you're going to get is going to be minimal doing that. So you need to have initial separation to be able to bridge to a satellite rider. And that never happened here. And pacing at the group for a kilometer is just pretty useless because I swear that Kopecky after the race said that Vollering was supposed to join her but never came. So that suggests that they were trying to some magical satellite rider complex strategy of having Vollering bridge to Kopecky and so forth. But
Kopecky's not the best rider on this parkour or the best top 5 riders. Like, Elisa Longo-Borghini, if Kopecky's pacing ahead, she can close it on a climb. She's way better on this parkour than, and we saw that later. Like, this is not a Tour of France. These are 4K 5% climbs, 3K 2.5K 7% climbs. These are Ardennes plus climbs. Like, it's Kopecky's. To me, they should have just done a full lead out on. They should have cycled through the rise and then on the 7% climb done a full lead out for Vollering. And had Majerus wait. The Cat 3, the last one, just do a full lead out with Kopecky, Vollering attack. And this is what was weird behind. Movistar kind of sensed that there was something funny going on with SD Worx. They definitely sensed indecision, and I think they perceived that as Vollering weakness, perhaps. And which is not true. Vollering legs today. This is why I'm being so critical.
Yeah.
And also, just as a preface, we're not talking about Castellan enough. We will get to her in a second. SD Worx, I think maybe we do single out a little bit because like they have a very healthy budget. What was it reported as, Benji? 3-4 million SD Worx budget?
4 million.
4 million. Like for women's, they got a good budget. They got the best riders. So the standard is high. Like you got European champion, leader of the World Tour women's World Tour rankings, Belgian champion, so the Ardennes triple winner. So that's why it's like, well, yeah, the standards are quite high. And but yeah, ahead Benji, there was her teammate Majerus in the breakaway. The breakaway's thinning out. It's still got a healthy gap though. Like it was still, with all this happening behind, the gap it had been brought down to 5 minutes, but the gap really stalled at like 3:30, 4 minutes. And Castellan just hits that breakaway and she's gone. Cordon goes with her for a little bit, but she can't hang with her at all. And Castellan just goes with 20K solo, 20Ks plus. Like, Phoenix to Koenig, hats off to them. They heartbreak yesterday with Van der Velde, who was incredibly strong. And then today, like, Castellan was just unreal again, and she was unreal in stage 2, I think. So Phoenix to Koenig playing it perfectly. They had numbers in the breakaway too. And when Castellan went, Benji, I saw how strong she was. I was like, they're not. And the way SD Worx was sort of doing the Kopecky thing, I was like, they're never catching her. Because no one's got any domestiques, and Castellan is flying.
Yeah, she was just shredding the group, eh? So Cordon tried to close down, came close, but then dropped and cracked completely. So the Castellan attack was of such length that it wasn't just attacking for a bit and then slowing the tempo and doing a manageable tempo. It was like hard pacing the entire time until the top of this damn climb, as if her life depended on it. And the gap to the group behind, to that actual GC group, was not necessarily diving down at a speed that you'd expect when a GC group is going all out behind. And we get to the scenario behind where Kopecky is still riding in front of the group, basically. We're going into one of the harder climbs on the parkour with, let's say, about 8 kilometers to go. And we see a move by Movistar, right?
Yeah, I didn't see. This is the one where they lost me, because Movistar tried, got no issue with it. You try, you test Vollering. What are SD Worx doing? Bit weird. Is Vollering on a bad day? Because you could interpret that. Because Kopecky, when she got brought back the first time, she spoke to Vollering and then attacked again, and you could perceive that as weakness. And so they tried her, and Vollering closed it easily, no problem. In fact, AVV the first time, to me, I mean, she always looks bad on the bike, but she was losing the wheel a couple of times, and Vollering was in there easily. And then Kopecky went again, and it was like, she was just dangling there. And I was like, is she riding to protect her yellow for tomorrow for Castellan? Because she got it to like 240. That was the only explanation I could have. The next time and this is why I think both Movistar kind of got lucky today, and SD Worx almost got lucky too. They did what I thought SD Worx should have done for Vollering. They tried to launch AVV with Gutierrez. Gutierrez is actually too strong, and Vollering just gets in Gutierrez's wheel the second time and is getting towed across. Gutierrez looks back, sees AVV's on a gap, and Vollering goes over the top, and then Gutierrez has to go back and paces Vollering back. And so it was clear to me that it's clear from this stage that Vollering was stronger than Van Vleuten today on this parcours. She did more work. We see in the final, we see on this climb. And yeah, you can't, I'm very sure, I really believe that on that 2K 7% climb, if SD Worx lit it up for her and had Madras ahead, she's taking decent time on the road to AVV today. But that didn't happen. And so the group comes back. Madras, by the way, Castellan's gone. So let's be clear. When Kopecky stalled at 220 in that chase, and then, by the way, Kopecky, she got caught when Movistar moved and got dropped like a bad habit on that climb. It was clear with like 15Ks to go that Castellan was winning this stage. The break chasing with Madras and co not really chasing and Cordon Rigaud was always at a minute 12, minute 15. The GC group was really not under 2 minutes for much of the time. That situation never changed. It was clear for a long time Castellan was ahead, winning this stage. SD Worx, Benji, they never dropped back Madras. And it's like... Labou's attacking in the final. Kopecky's having to close it, but she's kind of fucked. And they're relying on... Lucky AG Insurance dropped Casper back. Well, she was there to pace for Moolman.
The summary is simple, actually. Movistar used their satellite rider with Gutierrez. AG Insurance used Casper as satellite rider. We didn't see SD Worx use Madras at all. They tried a satellite rider from the GC group while they had a satellite rider ahead, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. But the summary is simple of this stage. SD Worx, if they had competent strategies today, they could have taken time. And because of that, we saw some weakness in Van Vleuten, but they didn't take time. No, they didn't take enough time, I would say, to call it a good stage for them. Because we come towards, first of all, Yara Castellane finishes off the stage. She wins the stage ahead of the other riders, but not necessarily 2 minutes anymore. So she ain't getting into yellow. Kopecky's yellow is safe from the situations that were occurring behind. But Yara Castellane winning this stage is really a crown on the achievements of Phoenix de Koning on these last few days. Because stage 1, they were super active with Castellane and with Julie van der Velde. Stage 2, stage 3, I mean, they were very active with Van der Velde that nearly won the stage after taking QM as well. And then today we see action in the breakaway, Marta Treyen being in there, Yara Castellane being in there, Treyen launching Castellane going, and she's just the strongest rider in this breakaway, and they've been showing action every single day and have been the most impressive team in this race so far, I would say.
Yeah, it was so well deserved. I was super happy. It's her first professional win. She won the European Cyclocross Championship, so she's a cyclocross rider. Previously, she's actually contracted till the end of 2026 on Phoenix de Koning, so they obviously have a lot of faith in her and her development. 25 years old, young rider, and what a win! I think maybe her family were there at the finish, and she came 10th in Flesh this year. Like she came 3rd and 9th in Flesh last year. She's not just some average, climber. If she's improved and is improving as she's been focusing more on the road in the summer as opposed to CX earlier in the year, like, I wonder where she can go in GC now. But yeah, she doesn't get the yellow jersey. She wins she beat her breakaway companions by over a minute 12 to Anushka Costa. Like, incredibly strong ride, solo, and she didn't look like slowing down. And same with Van der Velde yesterday too. So yeah, super happy for them. And Phoenix de Koning kind of they're not the Canyon Shrams or the other teams who are always fighting SD Worx, but they're the ones that get that W today.
I know that you often say that Danny van Poppel is Belgian and so forth. Us as Belgians, we sometimes claim Van der Poel, but I'm claiming Yara Castellane. She's Belgian now. So I'm sorry, Dutch people. I've stolen her.
Where's Neerkant?
It's now in Belgium. I've just moved it. She deserves to be here.
Fair enough. Oh, actually, no, that can't be true. The Belgian rider I saw today was riding 15 seconds in a chasse patate behind Yara Castellane.
Hey, Marta Treyen rode great, eh? Let's be honest.
Yeah. Anyway, fantastic. I want to make sure we give a proper shout out to Castellane and Phoenix de Koning before we we get back into the chase group. Labou counters looking very good. It's always interesting to see. We're now like the last 5Ks of the longest stage. Like who is good after fatigue? We don't often see this. Who is really good after the fatigue in a stage like this? Labou looking good. But yeah, she's brought back by Casper and Kopecky, and then Van Vleuten launches. Van Vleuten's super aggressive today, and I think cost herself time, in fact. I don't think AVV had to lose time today, but super aggressive. Attacks at Vollering. Vollering's going nowhere. AVV's dying on the bike. Vollering counters her easily and takes 2 seconds on the road going past Anushka Costa. She comes second on the stage. Costa third, and Vollering posts up in it. I'm not sure if I won post up. So, which I don't understand because, okay, Olympic road race, there's no radios. There's no radios, but here there's radios. And as I said, like, Castelline didn't counterattack Costa in the last 3Ks. The race situation was quite stable from the breakaway. Castelline attacked with a half an hour plus left. She was always winning. I don't understand how they couldn't have known she was like a minute ahead too. Like,
I stay with the same opinion. I think the issue at SD Worx, the riders are fucking good, but I think in the team car, that's where the problem is. We've said it for 2 years straight that there's been weird strategies, weird tactics, super complex things where easy stuff can be done, super just basically races where they just do stupid shit from the beginning. And then there's also these radio issues, and it's not the first time, and I'm like, I straight up think it's a team car issue at that team.
Is Anna van der Breggen Michael Jordan?
I have no clue what that means. I know it's a basketball player.
Like the GOAT player, and then management doesn't mean you're the best because he bought the Charlotte Hornets or Bobcats.
It's very possible.
And they've not been good.
But she's not alone in the car. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Danny Stum's in there as well. But I also heard that they had one team car in the race instead of two. I read that on Twitter today, which is
But like Madras is in the break, man. Madras is ahead. So they have someone on the ground ahead she'll be like, Castline's gone. She's ahead. She's gone. And then you had like the race radio across the last 20Ks from the neutral race radio from the race would have been saying Castelline gap 1:11, 1:15, 2 minutes. Like, I don't understand. But anyway, in the end, Vollering takes 8 seconds on Van Vleuten, who finishes fourth because of the bonies. Longoborghini fifth, Nuvidoma sixth, Moolman seventh. Celia Lemuel from Saint Michel, who's in the breakaway eighth, as well as Hammers ninth. Labou loses 10 seconds actually after attacking. Madras just finishes there. Kopecky loses a little bit of time. The main GC riders who lost time and proper time is Sant Esteban and Lippert, and Ludwig and Garcia lost a minute on the road to Vollering. So an attritional stage. Persico, Baufind and Ewers lost a minute 10, a minute 20. Same with Magnaldi and Music. So a hard old stage. And I really think not good for AVV, but I almost think this is a moral victory for AVV. If I was Movistar, I would be like, we got away with one there. That could have been worse.
I think so. Van Vleuten could have lost at least 30 seconds today if SD Worx played it right. And they fucked it up completely. But they still gained time because Vollering is just that good on this parkour versus Van Vleuten. But I also think that if you're Van Vleuten, and it's probably not good for your mental being either, that on the last hill stage before the mountain stage, Vollering kind of drops you. So it's kind of an edge with a sword with two edges, right? Not an edge with two swords, a sword with two edges.
You could say, oh, well, I attacked her twice. I attacked her in the finish, and then she gapped me with her explosivity at the end. But of course, like, you don't want to get dropped on the road. It's never good uphill, even if it's a short punch. But like, Vollering dropped her in the Ardennes. So, how does that play for the long climbs, Tourmalet? I don't really know. I don't think anyone does yet. But
it's going to be a close battle. I hope it is.
I think it'll be close, yeah. Anyway, Kopecky keeps her GC lead by 43 seconds ahead of Vollering, who moves into second. She's now got a little bit of a gap on AVV, Moolman, Nuvidoma, Longoborghini. The second tier of GC contenders is quite clearly Moolman, Nuvidoma, Longoborghini. I think in a linear race, they will be fighting for third. Moolman has looked very, very strong on parkour. That's not actually the best for her. So I think Moolman right now is almost the favorite for third based on the longer climbs, where I think she'll be better than this parkour. And we have a really interesting race at the moment. Like, Anushka Koska goes into the QOM jersey after taking a lot of points in the breakaway. Gasparini begins her march into the youth jersey. She's in third, but closing in on Kerbowal. And yeah, SD Worx are winning the team's classification. But yeah, I think a good stage, Benji, and a very big. They tried a longer stage, and I think it was it. Okay, we talked a lot about tactics, but that's good. I'd rather talk about tactics all day. That do this, what happened there. That means stuff is happening. Yesterday a little bit less so. So I think this stage was this longer stage, a good addition.
I think so as well. This was a really good stage. I think when it comes to the stage itself, the breakaway being ahead and so forth gave us action. I wonder if the longer factor, the longer stage causes breakaways to be more likely because teams might not feel that they're able to control it, like SD Worx, and therefore put a rider in the breakaway. The fact that SD Worx always goes for that same play every single time that a large breakaway forms is also enjoyable because then you know the break will actually win the stage. And then the fact that it became a bit closer towards the end was also fun. But it's also a combination of the same feeling that I have when I watch the last few stages where other teams keep helping SD Worx all over the road. There was a moment where Nivea Doma was closing gaps for Vollering on the road. There was a moment where Canyon Shram and UAE was pacing in the group where they shouldn't have been pacing. And it's something that we see repetitively throughout the year, and the other teams should realize that they should not be helping the favorites of this race unless they can actively benefit from doing so. And most of the time, they just end up being beaten by SD Worx at the line if they do that. Now, when it comes to SD Worx, I read this line on Twitter just a second ago from Kiss Lassie. Being the sports director on SD Worx is like playing Pro Cycling Manager on the easiest difficulty. It doesn't matter that your strategy is non-existent when the power levels of your rider is so much higher than everyone else. That is one of the most accurate takes I have ever seen.
Damn. Yeah, and apparently AGV seems quite confident. So yeah, I think Movistar, honestly, I think they feel good. I think they're like, wow,
like
we're 4 stages in and we're on 8 seconds. It could be more.
You were slightly critical on the move of Movistar today, as in the two moves they did.
Yeah, I think it was too aggressive.
The first one they did, the setup just wasn't there. So if the setup's not great, you should just abort mid acceleration, because that was useless energy spendage when Van Vleuten was chasing down her own teammate to try and then have a lead out by that teammate because she was gapped on the descent. That won't work. But the second attack, I liked the attempt to attack towards Sheila Gutierrez, their satellite rider. I don't necessarily like what happened there afterwards, where Gutierrez was kind of pacing in front of Vollering and so forth. But I would also say that, something I haven't mentioned in this podcast, that Gutierrez was kind of trying to block Vollering. That was a bit shady. That felt a bit Philipsen-like to me.
Oh, go on.
Sorry, that was a bit shady.
I didn't mind it. Bit of niggle. Yeah, but an interesting stage nonetheless. I'm looking forward to making the video for it. I want to really rewatch this final. But, I wonder what will happen tomorrow, Benji. We have on air Le Chateau to Albi. This is the kind of 2 stages in a row. This was the hardest stage for the next 2 days. So the next 2 stages are not as hard. 127 Ks, 50 Ks shorter. And it is hard at the start. Like, there's so many climbs in this year's race that are just not categorized. And then you actually look at them, you're like, hold on, that's 1.5 Ks at 7%. And then it keeps climbing for 8 Ks. That's hard. Like, the first categorized climb is deep in the race, 2.2 Ks, 7.6% with 50 Ks to go. Then 1,600 meters, 8%. But then it keeps climbing. And then there's another 1,700 meters at 6%, where there's a bonus sprint, which SD Worx. I'm like, let's go get some bonus seconds here before another descent and then another 1,700 meter 6% climb. But that's with 25 Ks to go. It's not that long, really. Like, it's half an hour, 35 minutes with sort of false light downhill. And I think the finish is a little bit of a kick up too. Yeah. I think SD Worx got to go for the stage win. I'm sorry. I'll say it again. They should control the stage. They should lead out Vollering to take those bonus seconds on Castelfidesz, and then they should get Kopecky to give Vollering a lead out on that uphill kick, and they should make sure that Vos and Wiebes and co are dropped, not Wiebes, she's on their own team, but Vos and Balsamo. Listen, look at this middle phase. There is enough steep climbing in there to drop everybody, really.
Yeah. I think they can definitely make it hard. I think they won't. I think they'll try and get Weavers over these climbs to go for a sprint.
No.
I think they will. I generally believe they will. I'd want them to attack with Royster if they go for a stage. If that is their goal, then Royster is the most likely to win this stage, I believe.
Yeah,
Because
if you get her at attack at the end of the last cat forward, no one's going to bring her back.
today was harder than this, right?
Yes.
It was harder than what we're seeing on this profile. So I don't necessarily see it super easy to drop Vollering with Van Vleuten on that parkour tomorrow.
I still think tomorrow's hard. Like that first cat 3, that's hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they're not going to throw that up from the first one, eh? I would, but...
And the breakaway win.
Nah, I don't believe it. Not 2 days in a row.
You don't reckon a big break again? But uphill start, why wouldn't the team see what Castellan just did and go again?
The problem is also that I reckon DSM might go for, okay, maybe Cole can get over this, even though it looks difficult. But I genuinely believe that we'll have so many teams helping out as D-Works and controlling whatever happens again.
I'm going with the breakaway. I think Anuska Costa wins the stage.
Mm-hmm.
She was quite good in the group behind, and she could win an uphill sprint if it's a small breakaway group. So I'm going with Costa just to be a little bit different, but she's looked in good shape. Obviously, Roycer and SD Worx can win the stage, or Vos, or Persico, actually, if Persico can get over these climbs. Yeah. Okay, you go Roycer. I'm going Costa, but my saver from the GC group is Persico. Did she finish in front or behind Lippert? Behind her, that's no good. That means Lippert's more of an option. But I'll go with Persico to change it up from the GC group. But Costa breakaway win is what I'm going with. So yeah, should be another interesting stage. We'll have a lot of backseat de-essing maybe tomorrow, but I enjoyed a lot today, and yeah, lots to talk about. I feel it's bubbling up till this weekend, Benji.
Yeah.
The interviews from Vollering and Van Vleuten, I feel it's bubbling.
I won't lie, when it comes to stages like today, we have a lot to talk about, but sometimes seeing every team make the wrong decision every single second in the span of 10 kilometers sometimes triggers me as well. I'm like, how? And like, if SD Worx makes the wrong decision to do something and the other team responds in the wrong way as well, I'm like, I don't know who is doing the right thing anymore. But hey, women's cycling would probably be boring if SD Worx always made the right decision.
Yeah, or men's racing too.
Well, SD Worx isn't in men's racing, so they can't make the right decision there.
Kopecky and Van Aert, some similarities. I see. Anyway. But yeah, I can't wait for tomorrow. I think, and the weekend. I'm really getting excited for the weekend now because it's so close. I can feel something crazy coming on like La Vuelta. But anyway, in other news, there was another suspension. This time, not for anything related to doping. This time, I couldn't believe it. And when I saw the tweet, I was like, an incident, UCI statement on the incident involving Philip Mathieu. I was like, did he do something else? But no, this is in relation to Mathieu. If you don't remember, the Bahrain Victorious rider, I think he's on his Neopro contract, who, I might be too old for that, but who went off the road, came back into the road, caused a crash at Tour of Flanders on the 2nd of April. 2nd of April, which is 3.5 months ago, nearly 4 months ago. And they said the disciplinary commission found the rider to have acted in breach of the regs for having caused the crash of several riders in the peloton after riding outside the race course and threw a puddle on the roadside. Well, that's okay, of course, because he was literally disqualified from the race during the race, which was upheld. So that's not new. And he'll serve a period of suspension of 30 days starting yesterday on 25 July. So he misses, he was in the Polish team for World Championships, so he'll miss that, and the Tour de Pologne, which I assume he would have been doing for Bahrain Victorious, because that's in August, I think.
I hate this decision. Honestly, I hate this decision. At the time, I was saying there needs to be something more so that people know that they shouldn't be doing this. But 3 months later, nearly a bit more than 3 months later, that's just not okay. And especially after Mathieu has had his public court already. Next to that, he apologized publicly, repeated well, he didn't repeat the same action at all in any race from that point onwards. Didn't break a rule.
He got
since then.
DSQ'd.
Yeah, he got disqualified
And
already in the
fined.
race. So all those things together, I bet you. I'll show you. So Brugge de Panne, the week before this race happened, or a week and a half before, women's Brugge de Panne, Lorena Wiebes goes off the road, goes back on the road, crashes half her group, including Kopecky. That is exactly the same scenario. Exactly the same scenario. What is the difference? There's no media uproar about Wiebes doing it. There's media uproar about Mathieu doing it in a monument in the Ronde van Vlaanderen. And the fact that media uproar is one of the most important criteria when the UCI applies rules is completely fucked. That should not be happening. And this is a joke. Like, this is actually a joke.
I mean, it wouldn't be if they'd come out. I mean, like, this was broadcasted live on television from 7 angles. We saw it live. He got DSQ'd live. How does it take 3 months to give the guy a suspension? And
it feels
kind of, it's like they feel like they've waited for the most punitive time to give him the 30-day suspension because he's going Worlds and his home race.
It feels like they came together for the first time since that event a week ago and decided all the UCI decisions at once at a round table and are now releasing them every single day.
I mean, it is a bit of a joke, the Lopez thing. I thought about it more last night. I was like, really? It was okay when he's cleaning up every race in South America or Central America, all the 2.2s. That was fine. But then you saw him on a start list in Europe, and you're like, nah, too fucking far. You're provisionally suspended. Like, what the hell? If Lopez wasn't on the world's start list, would he have been provisionally suspended? And could he have just kept up cleaning up Panama,
I don't know.
Panamanian races? I don't know. Because, yeah, this is like 3 months after for an incident we saw live. It's not complicated. I'm sure he wouldn't even contest it.
I think it shows to me that the UCI's priorities are in the wrong place. Instead of giving harsh punishments to a rider that did it 3 months ago, they should be giving smaller punishments to riders that are breaking this rule every single race.
That's the thing.
People are going off the road so many times. Wellens before that crash, 20 seconds before Mathieu crashed him in that way, went in the same way off the road and went on the road again to pass people. So every rider in the group does it. And Mathieu gets blamed because he ends up crashing someone out. I understand that maybe there's more penalty if you actually cause harm doing it. But then in other races, Wiebes crashes people out and it doesn't happen. So I'm like, I'd rather see it consistent across the board than seeing this guy be put as an example without any incentive for other riders to stop because you're not punishing them that when they do it.
Yeah, it was like the Buani thing. Like, Buani only got suspended because people went on Twitter and went crazy about it. That's the reality. Like, that's what happened, because his name's Nasser Buani. I see moves that bad or worse every week, and no one cares. So it's unfortunate. Like, because it reminds me sort of in a system or a society where, technically corruption is illegal, but really it's the understanding is everyone does it. But then once someone actually politically or too much pressure happens and that person gets scapegoated, then the punishment for the corruption, which half the people do, is like so over the top and crazy. And that's sort of what happened here. Like Mathieu, he made a mistake 3.5 months ago that anyway.
They should have just let it go at this point. It's too late. I don't want it anymore. I reject.
Oh yeah, because everyone saw it was like, what? That happened in spring. We're past the summer solstice. Like, anyway, I mean, it is what it is. He won't do it again, hopefully, and maybe it's a lesson to others not to do it. But we'll see. But yeah, some things change, some things stay the same. But that's all from us. I don't think there's any other news we have today in the cycling world. We'll see you at the recap of Stage 5 of the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift tomorrow. Till then, ciao.